Good evening. Today it's the full moon here. I don't know about you, but there has been some triggers sent my way. Some I've been able to see through and navigate. Others have shown me another side that I need to pay attention, definitely. Here in my reality, there is like the village, like kind of folklore going on. It's once a year. Yesterday there were people just fighting in front of the house. Of course, a lot of background noise. And it is a little bit distracting for me, or a little bit creating a little bit of stress for my cats. Definitely not great to feel this kind of backdrop kind of activity straight at your doorstep. About the triggers from full moon, this full moon might be feeling a little bit more intense than others. I think it's different for all of us. I noticed that I've been smart at navigating some of the traps that were sent to me, definitely. Some others, it shows me where I kind of let my guard down, or where I was on automatic rails, and where I need to pay more attention, kind of bring more awareness there, more consciousness. So I remember when a few years ago, I hadn't understood back then that what is a trigger and how you feel it in your body. And how it's gonna kind of tell you about something that is kind of unwelcome in terms of energetic in your reality. Which brings me also to some of what I want to be talking about today is about gaslighting. And I see a lot of gaslighting going on social media, you know, with beings I'm in touch with. I see them being gaslit pretty often through comments on social media, making them doubt their own perceptions, or even kind of invalidating their own expressions. I've been majorly gaslit myself my whole life, and at first I didn't know really how to identify it, but you know, with remembering about mind control, I kind of put the dots, and it's way less effective now in my reality, though it's happening pretty much every day. It's happening also through our social media activity. You know, it's happening through the media always telling you that your reality is a certain way, and gaslighting you every single day. Also, when you address the more kind of paranormal aspects, you will have a lot of the backdrop beings kind of dismissing any point you will bring in by giving like a scientific explanations for what you are bringing, you know, like sightings or things like that, you know. So it is designed this way to kind of bring you, if you are spirited, back to 3D. And a lot is being done to block the expression of what is real and who is real here. So gaslighting is about repressing the expression of who we are. And here there is a lot of artificial engineering. A lot of it is automated, led by different types of AI. And of course, you always have the special attentions from some, let's say, negative alien groups. And they are great at changing a few parameters or taking advantage of your attachment to any outcome, any desires, based on a lack, that is not based in creation. So I remember a few examples where I was gaslit. Usually it comes from main handling, sometimes leading to sub-handling, and by sub-handling, I mean handling coming from the handling of a main handler, and it becomes sub-handling because it's like carried out by other beings who are linked to that main handler. And we have a lot of public figures who are handlers on the scene. And this gaslighting can be pretty intense sometimes. It can really activate your guilt programming and remorse and thought about how you could have done otherwise, or, you know, and it's definitely a transfer of responsibility usually. So gaslighting is definitely a form of handling. It's all about making you lose confidence in your perceptions. And when you are gaslit constantly, it is difficult to be owning your own experience, because it's disturbing your knowledge about what is reality and what is deceit. Now, overt abuse is out in the open. Covert abuse is hidden and devious. It is twisty and sneaky, and it is way harder to identify and to understand what is really going on. And it's even harder to put words into what's been happening. Sometimes it can take months before you can actually recalibrate things, how they happen. And it has to do with breaking like covert and false memories as well, built on your guilt. As far as covert enmeshment, it is indirect and hidden. It is messing up your mind, emotional, psychological pattern, and it is reinforcing programming. When you are faced with very thick layers of gaslighting, it can be extremely painful and create a lot of suffering. Of course, suffering is based on illusion, and as soon as you kind of dismiss the illusion, the suffering also disappears. When you break ties with handlers, it often comes with emotional and psychological suffering, because gaslighting is taking place and they are transferring responsibilities. There is often a lot of denial that is involved, and a lack of desire to really see the truth and align with that. And gaslighting is disturbing for sure. It is extremely tenacious as well. So our ability to resist gaslighting is gonna also be linked to how much we can give credit to ourselves and how much we can see through the engineering all around us. We are discouraged to do a lot of things due to gaslighting methods. The media is full of constant gaslighting about your perception of reality. Gaslighting is meant to be controlling your perceptions through manipulative ways. And you find a lot of gaslighting in relationships that are engineered, especially. So they are not seated in love, they are seated in deceit. You are brought together by the programs. You know, that's how some beings kind of magically appear and reach out to you. Gaslighting is based on shaming, projection of responsibility, and deep denial patterns. It only hurts when we see beings who are using these manipulative methods as they wish to be seen, not as they truly are. When you manage to realign in the truth of who they truly are and what they are actually truly doing, then you feel strong in your own being, and You will feel it in your field when you feel a discomfort, when you feel like you're full of programming, it's being activated completely in your field. And it just makes you feel insecure and so on. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, my body and my emotions, everything used to be much more numb than it is now. The detox has been helping transitioning to a mucus-lean, mucus-free way of living, and is helping me feeling more, quitting stimulants, of course, and just becoming more aware, learning to really observe myself in way finer ways. So you might not feel the effect of gaslighting strongly if your body is completely numbed down. And sometimes we are completely wrong in our perception of what's happening. We might think, oh, at this moment I'm managing it, but in fact, there is a lot of like underground repressed anger active in the field. You know, and you can actually use biofeedback technologies like the Energy Remaster app. That's going to be a really great tool for shadow work, really a great mirror that you can work with at home or work with a practitioner that actually work with that technology. And I do work with that technology, and it helps to kind of demystify some patterns of, lying about like self-deception about what's really going on. So negative types of AI are also playing a big role in gaslighting us in our online lives. Of course, we're right in the middle of a new gaslighting campaign with the fake engineered conflict. Everything is so fake. And of course, gaslighting works on the fact that like the media are pretending there is something going on when actually it's something else that's going on. And we actually find the very same kind of patterns in the transgender, trend in ritualistic changing the gender of beings in Masonic families, and we've been exposed to them since the very beginning. So this is a form of gaslighting, because if I remember the first time I've seen Cher, I was like, why is this number one staying for weeks? And I kind of wanted to see something else. Now, if I look at that same video clip from 20 years ago, I see it very differently then. But the gaslighting was not fully efficient with beings who are kind of openly manly and pretending to be female, naturally born female. And I had that with different public figures that I can remember. And probably there was a time where I did not really question anymore, but I remember that trigger that I felt when I was a child or a teenager from being gaslit by the entertainment industry. So gaslighting is about emotional manipulation. And for that, to kind of counteract gaslighting, we need to trust more in our own intuition, not relying on anyone external. We can, sometimes it helps if you have a trusted mentor and they kind of skill at recognizing frequency signature, because gaslighting has a lot to do with frequency signature reading. That's how I've been training into recognizing it. And of course, now I can do way more by reading patterns with the biofeedback app that I'm working with, the Energy Remaster app. So it's about trusting more your internal compass. Of course, we are discouraged to do that. This whole MK Ultra culture is about discouraging us to trust in ourselves, trust in our gift, trust in what we have to offer, and kind of leading us over and over to the relationships that are not serving us and not in our best interest. Gaslighting also has to do with being repeatedly exposed to trauma and trauma all over again through brainwashing, conditioning, and mind control, and it leaves an imprint. And of course, our involvement in covert projects that usually we have very little memory about, but these projects were carried out to break us psychologically and installed a lot of negative core belief from which we will then be manifesting. So of course, gaslighting play a huge role in the way we are navigating our reality if we're not fully aware of really what's going on. This situation leads generally to toxic triangulation. Gaslighting is a technique that is used in this kind of toxic triangulation, where narcissistic handling is kind of playing out. And then the result of that is the invalidation of your own perception about the nature of what's really going on. So something that helps a lot is to remember what was my first initial response to the energetic field of that person. And that information is really helpful because we often forget due to the manipulative ways that other kind of modify the image they want you to have of them. Also, there is a risk in accepting the blame for things that are not your responsibilities. It's great to do shadow work, but not shadow work for things that are not yours to own. So how can I show accountability, but for what is truly mine, not for where the other person is in deep denial. Oftentimes we have poor boundaries in our relationship because we've been gaslit so much. So it kind of discourages. Gaslighting is actually made to discourage you to become better at boundary setting. You will be heavily gaslit as you try to set healthier boundaries with others from beings who are deceivers. They really don't like it. And of course, we have the presence and access of alter subpersonality. So if you're real, you are multiple, whether you know it or not. And many reals don't know they are. They have all these personalities expressing, but they do have it. So gaslighting also has something to do with your people-pleasing alters getting accessed. And by that, your own perception is kind of morphing because they are being called to the forefront. So you are actually seeing the world as your alters are seeing it, and it's a deformed way of perceiving reality. So it's very confusing, especially if you stay co-present with them as your core self. And then, you know, your alters experiment something that they really are pleased to serve their master, they're usually the dark faction. They are programmed to very cabal loyal alters. So your alter are very pleased to serve, but you, if you stay co-present with them, you're like, something's fishy here, and it doesn't have the frequency signature of a true moment. It doesn't have the frequency signature of truth. There is deceit, and sometimes it takes a few minutes, a little bit of time to kind of come back to your senses, for the alters to go back like a little bit more backwards, and then each time you become aware of that, you can work on integrating them a little bit more so they can come less, they can be less active in their expression as you reintegrate them. So gaslighting is one of the most extreme, dangerous, and effective form of emotional and psychological abuse. It is a game of pure mind control and intimidation, and Dracos or Draco-loyal spirited beings or possessed people are very skilled at this dark art of manipulations. And I believe they really believe in their version of reality, being who they are, because they're often really cold and lacking empathy. So you have to put yourself in the shoes of someone who sees reality like this. It's going to be different from someone who has empathy. So there is no problem of us coexisting in the same realm, but we just generally don't make good allies because of their coldness and inability to take responsibility. And because they are used to contradict and invalidate your perception, they are usually quite addicted to victimhood consciousness, and they are skilled at twisting reality upside down. Now, they are usually used by the dark faction to handle other spirited beings, to decrease their self-esteem, their self-confidence, to discourage them to place healthy boundaries. And they make it just more difficult for us to function from our core self. Now, you may feel like your opinions and emotions and boundaries are considered as selfish, definitely uncaring for the other person from their perspective, but that's only their perspective. They are usually transferring shame. So it's about shaming you, devaluating your perception, your needs, and your need for boundary setting. The aim is for you to become insecure, to fall into guilt programming, and to fail to trust your own discernment, your own intuition. This is very debilitating for anything that is related to decision making and boundary setting. So gaslighting has many damaging effects on the further development of your healing as a person. It instigates crippling doubt, crippling self-doubt, and it invalidates your own gut feelings. It leads you to seek more external validation rather than working on self-validation and internal validation, which is very important. You need to stand strong even if no one around you is kind of backing up your perception of reality, which happens sometimes, especially if you're leaving a cult and the kind of leader is gonna call these enablers to kind of target you. So gaslighting is a form of shadow projection. It is all about inverted reality. It asks from you to take responsibility for shadows that are actually not yours to own. So it's important to own what's yours and to leave the rest aside. And owning shadow that is not yours to take can cause like a breach in your immune system. You can actually fall sick after you have made agreement with someone. It happened to me a few times where I actually fallen sick after kind of signing some hidden contract with beings who were kind of using these techniques, and And when I reread my diaries when I was in my late 20s, I was my immunity was down a few times. I had fever. I had very complex relationship at that time. And I rarely fall sick. And in the last 2-3 years, I only fallen sick after signing energetic agreement with other people. It happened 3 times. It was after a virtual call, so it was not even, I was not even in their physical presence. So it's really a lowering of the frequency. So gaslighting is a sort of form of deforming your own image about yourself and your own perception about your own reality. And usually when this is happening and people are not willing to exit the denial that they have been sitting on for quite a while, now there is like a lie and a distortion standing between you and the other person. So it kind of become a problem very quickly. Apologizing for things that are not your responsibility as karmic consequences. It does lower your immune system. It does result in traps of agreement while you are accepting the blame, while your alters are being accessed as well. This is like a violation of your own software systems, especially as it's not a granted access. So it is about being manipulated psychologically, emotionally, to create doubt about your own sanity. And this results in us losing touch with our own inner radars. Usually when your alters are being accessed in such a manner that is violating, your brain waves are going to be changed. So you get more to a sleep mode that is more kind of open to programming. And some beings are trained unknowingly, they have no awareness of that, but they have actually alters that are trained to do that job, to do that handling. And usually they are absolutely not conscious. They are cabal loyal themselves. And a lot of people are cabal loyal, whether they are denouncing it or not. Actually, most of the people you see on the truth scenes are cabal loyal, even when they are sharing some truth. You have actually a lot of Dracos with some memories who are sharing some truths, but who are deeply psychopathic and sociopathic in their way of relating, but it is the nature of who they are here. It is a race, and I think there are different ways with different inner settings. So gaslighting can be subtle, it can be a message. When you set a boundary saying, oh yeah, well, I'm kind of disappointed that I'm not getting my needs met, but okay, well, bye. And you are left with like a feeling that your boundaries haven't really been heard, and it's kind of passive aggressive as well. Actually, they often use passive aggressiveness in the gaslighting methods itself. So it's kind of blur the signal. You know, they say dear, and you feel like they're nothing, you know, they don't feel really like you're a dear person to them. So when it starts like that, it's already like you can feel the frequency is very off. So you can actually work with, I do work sometimes with them, Serato and Pine. Serato for believing in your own radar, and Pine for guilt programming and layers of it. So I do assist my clients to recover from being gaslit in many operations of mind controlled. It helps to remember how you felt while you were exchanging with the beings who were gaslighting you. how they were really treating you, and how it was really making you feel if you observe it very deeply. Because, you know, relationships with more sociopathic beings can kind of bring back old trauma from unresolved trauma that is kind of similar in the experience you had. So it's like a handling that's bringing back the memory of older handling. So I would say be aware of that in your own life. And of course, the Energy Remaster app is also great at scanning auras of relationships, of handlers or suspected handlers, of family members, of just relationships that are causing a lot of suffering. And this app has lots of panels. I've been writing panels myself, also with the course Back to Basic on defeating mind control techniques. I've been writing a few panels about handling and subpersonalities and programming. So the more I work with it, the better, you know, the more information is kind of being brought up to the surface. And now, after quite a while working with it, I've built a stronger relationship to kind of correlate patterns and see what's really going on. And it's been really rewarding. I can usually get myself out of gaslighting, being gaslit, or I can really see what is really playing. I get a lot of insights that are really helpful, that help me validate my reality, and while still allowing me to do the deep shadow work and doing my share, my needed share. So in a little while, I'm also going to announce a new course on relationships, and we're going to dissect handling, and I'm going to share lots of personal examples. Relationships are causing a lot of slowing down, a lot of they are really interesting. They are really a foundation of our lives here. So if you'd like to be kept up to date with that that course, you can contact me through the web form on my website, and then I will send you the presentation of the course when I have worked on it. I think it's going to be a course in 5 modules of about 90 minutes. And we're going to scan through a lot of the patterns, you know, how does it hook in, how does it feel like, relationships with backdrops, relationship with parents, with children, with our surroundings, with the neighbors, romantical relationships, of course, a huge distraction sometimes, a lot of engineered relationships, not meant for your highest good. What does it feel to be an ally? What does it feel to be in the presence of an ally? And from there, you can anchor very good things in your life when you have something to kind of compare it to. So of course, also, you know, more insight about the nature of the game here, about codependency, about the matrix systems, about the signatures of handling in relationships, about family programming, romance programming, friend handlers, some of the handlers template. Also, we will talk about boundary setting, that discernment, very important here, reading energy signature, and kind of conspiring around healing, also healing the wound of non-recognition, a huge wound. And I have a video about that on my channel if you haven't seen it. And yeah, just also how do we navigate the projection in this realm. And I think it helps to kind of review together examples. It usually helps participants to kind of put some additional pieces of the puzzle together for their own life. Because if you are real, you have been MK Ultra, and there is a lot of strangeness in your life if you go under the surface of what's happening and the surface of the cover life. So please feel invited to leave me a comment if you have anything to share with me, any question, any testimony to share about how you've been gaslit, or how you have been observing gaslighting, kind of being a ruler here in this realm. We talk soon, and thank you for watching.